I'd like to share an experience I had actually just this morning, which kind of set me aback for a little while. I arrived at school and one of the young secretaries came up to me and I could see in her eyes that she was distressed, right? So I asked her, "What's wrong?" And she said, "I can't tell you right now." But you could see that she was greatly not herself, greatly distressed. So I couldn't leave it, and I said to her, I got thinking to myself, now, it's a long life, right? And all of us deserve an element of peace at times, right? And we have to choose this peace because it's seemingly we're living in an extremely complex society. There's digital devices, there's airplanes, there's cars, there's movement, much more so than we've seen perhaps forever. I was listening today, Dr. Peterson was making the point that we were basically at peace with our natural environment until some 300 years ago. Now think about this. We were in harmony with nature virtually until the Industrial Revolution. And then we began to follow the edict from the Old Testament, from Genesis, that we are going to dominate the earth, basically, in one interpretation. And we've done so. We're on our way to destroying our natural environment. And we're also on our way to destroying our personal environment. So how am I going to grasp hold of this situation, if you will? So back to the problem that first confronted me this morning. So not knowing what to say at all, I said to this young woman, I said, look, two things are true in any situation at all. The first one is that it is probably not as bad as you truly think. Probably not. The second thing, whatever it is, it will be corrected with time. With time. As long as you're alive, you're going to effectively correct that given situation. But it got me thinking, that gosh, we really got to be fighters at times for our own sense of peace, don't we? Because the only person I truly know is me. I can reach out, I can touch you, I can feel the warmth of your body, but who are you? Honestly, who are you inside your personal being? And yes, the great psychiatrists can tell us what is really the truth. Carl Jung, for instance, says some statements along the line that if we don't have some form of God or spirituality in our lives, if we stumble into a mental crisis, we'll never ultimately get out of it. So, all of these parameters are in existence, but I've got to grasp my own sense of peace at times. So how am I going to do it? Well, one of the ways I just suggested, in any circumstance, it's not as bad as you probably think it is. And secondly, time will correct all. And then in other circumstances, I'm really stressed, really frustrated. What am I going to do? Well, I went to a yoga conference, of all things, about 5 years ago in Coimbatore in southern India. And the guru there said, look, when you wake up in the morning, you can decide whether it's going to be a good day or a bad day, barring any circumstance. And many great intellectuals and writers have said something similar, that I'm in control of this moment, this now, if you will, whatever the external circumstances. So he suggested that when I'm really stressed, find a bit of grass, take your shoes and socks off and put your feet right on the grass and walk. Take a walk. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you can spare. And somehow that will bond you with nature and you will feel calmer. And then, of course, if you're not too well dressed, if you're wearing perhaps some leisure attire, you can also roll over on the grass and stare down at the bugs, the ants, all the centipedes, whatever's crawling along. And somehow it'll put you in harmony with nature. There is also another technique. This is one of those emergency techniques, if you will. One of those techniques is called the 4x4. If your heart is just thumping away, my God, I can't control it, got to give a major speech, breathe in, And as you do, count 4. And then upon filling your lungs, count 4 again when your chest is full of air. And then breathe out, counting once again 4, rest 4, 4, and do it again 4 times. So the 4 times 4, or 3 more times. 4 times 4, right? So this is the way that you start to realize that I am an independent being. I'm not totally subject to all the things that are coming at me on an ongoing basis. Because as we know today, virtually everyone lives an external life. I was in a hospital the other day and I was looking at all the screens. I certainly mentioned this before. And the screens were filled with games. They weren't filled with any type of reading or knowledge. People were just playing mindless games, right? Now, many people, Michael Pollan finished this book recently on consciousness. He says that most of us get a consciousness. So 10% of the population really foolish. 5% brilliant in another sphere, I'm sure. 85% just like you and me. Just like you and me. We're given a consciousness, let's say at 20 or so, but like any muscle, I must practice it again and again and again. Intelligence is something I nurture. And education plus experience equals, of course, expertise. But a lot of those experts, if you will, are not necessarily brilliant men. They just did the work. And part of the work is also to be able to control your sense of peace. It is extremely hard to do. Extremely. We've got this monkey brain running around inside of us all the time, filling us with thoughts. One of our classes today was about morality, moral action, immoral action, how we constantly compete with these 2 actions in our brain, depending on the circumstance, right? So in the end, I think if I begin to say to myself, wait a moment, just wait a moment. Leon is in control of Leon here. And yes, Leon is a man. And yes, Leon is 70 years old. And yes, Leon has 2 children, certain amount of money, certain amount of intelligence, but everything else is possible. Given I have consciousness, my consciousness extends on in this reality. So I don't have to suffer, gosh, and I don't have to be a victim, unless I want to. I mean, there are people, for sure, that want to be victims. The poor me. Oh, poor me. I'm poor because some excuse. Lost all my money on the stock market. Never had love. Can't meet a girl. It goes on. It's kind of nauseating in a sense. Because all of us know, you know, and I know, life is hard. Anyone that tells us that life is easy is a fool, basically, right? Life is hard. If I want to extract the best from me, in my life, I gotta work at me, right? And it's hard work. It's hard work to get a PhD in Leon, isn't it? Or anyone else, for that matter. Very truthful. But along the way, in searching this great goal of the ultimate development of me, I must give myself those moments of peace to rethink, regroup, and rest. For sure. Because, as we know, it's a wonderful life, but I have to make it so, don't I? And you know what they say. Critical thinking is everything, especially if I'm going to find those moments of peace in my life, which I deserve, by the way. And critical thinking is great, truly great. You take care. God bless. Bye-bye.